Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to formally welcome you to the wedding reception of Giles and Victoria. I have to admit that I was fairly nervous about today. Some of it was due to wanting to do a speech to honour my brother and new sister-in-law in front of 70-odd people. However, most of my anxiety was due to being worried about whether I would actually fit into these trousers. In preparation for this speech, I looked up the meaning of the bride and groom's names and made an interesting discovery. They both have plants named after them. Victoria's is a rose. The description was of a lovely flower, a sweet bouquet, gentle yet hardy. As for Giles, his is a plant called the coriandrum, a small, bulbous perennial, lacking in hair, often described as a weed, and sometimes found in a well-cultivated rose bed. For those that don't know you, my name is Greg, and I am the groom's brother. Now, I know there are quite a few of you thinking, they don't look like brothers. And believe me, I have thought this about myself. And I finally come to the conclusion, Giles, you were adopted. I know bad timing, right? As some of you may be aware, Giles was my best man back in 2005 when we were together at the hotels. He has generally returned the favour that I asked of him 10 years ago, nearly to the day, during which time he took the opportunity to make lots of cheap jokes at my expense. It is now with great anticipation and years of planning that I have the right to reply. But before I do, there are some honourable mentions that I'd like to make. Firstly, I must start with the bride, Victoria, who looks fantastic today. So much so that when she was at the altar, I overheard the vicar asking her if she realised she was overqualified for the job. I would also like to draw your attention to the bridesmaids, Nicola, Julie, who looked wonderful and performed their role fantastically well, despite the inevitable and healthy rivalry that sometimes can occur. In fact, just before the service, I overheard a furious sisterly argument about who was going to be the first to dance with the best man. Understandably, I thought, until I got closer and heard them saying, you, no you. Finally, I want to take this opportunity to commend my little brother on his contribution to this wedding. I'm sure you'll all agree the napkins are folded very nicely indeed. When Giles asked me to be the best man, I dutifully researched what was required of the role. One of the things I read in the course of my duties was to get some stories and embarrassing photos of the group. No problem, I thought, seeing we grew up together. With that in mind, I asked our mum for some embarrassing photos from his younger years, and she offered me a marvellous naked shot of him on a changing mat. It was my plan to contact a reputable firm to blow up it to a suitable size, but apparently they didn't have the equipment to enlarge it sufficiently to show anything of any quality. Mind you, Giles, what you were doing on a changing mat at the age of 21, I've no idea. As the groom's brother, I think it would be fair to say that I know him better than most. So allow me to share a few characteristics that make the man you see before you today. I must warn you before I begin, however, that anyone who is sensitive to jokes about height, or lack of it, hair, or lack of it, or weight, and plenty of it, should consider leaving the room now. Ever since he was a small child, Giles has liked to think of himself as a bit of a whiz in the kitchen, but I know better. I'm not saying he's a bad cook or anything, but I think I'm the only person to have ever broken a tooth eating someone else's homemade yoghurt. I remember one year we got a call from Tom at Apex Pest Control. Apparently, a rat had eaten some of his now infamous Chateaubriand, and they wanted the patient they wanted to patent the recipe such of its efficacy at terminating unwanted rodents. I don't think I would be exaggerating when I say that on occasions my brother cooked. We were one of the few families in Southport who prayed after we ate. In addition to his love of food, Giles is also partial to a drink or two. I remember not long ago seeing him drinking whiskey for the first time, straight from the bottle. I thought, wow, he's really growing up. And sure enough, the next week he started teething. Growing up, Giles has always fancied himself as a bit of a ladies' man. I mustn't say too much about his exes, but I do remember one remarking that when they made Giles, they broke the mould. Then they found the mould maker, dragged him out onto the street and shot him repeatedly. Not one to miss an opportunity with the opposite sex in his younger years, Giles was one of the first to sign up to an online dating site. Unfortunately, this foray into digital courtship was short-lived after it emerged the photo he uploaded crashed their system and made 2 of their staff cry. That was enough to put him off, and subsequently went down the more conventional route, which leads me nicely as to how we met Victoria. Giles and Victoria first met whilst working at the Stutely Hotel in Southport. Victoria was behind reception, fluttering her eyes towards the tall, handsome stranger idly standing by the lift. Then Giles turned up. After months of badgering her, Victoria finally agreed to date Giles, and he quickly realised this was an opportunity not to be missed. In a bid to win her affection, he made several attempts to impress her with shows of manliness. On one such occasion, he entered a drag race in Southport, which he actually went on to win. Giles was so proud of himself, although in my opinion running around dressed as a woman is one of the least manly things he can do. So when he finally proposed after their long courtship, he presented Victoria with a huge glittering engagement ring. "Wow, are they real diamonds?" Victoria asked. "I sincerely hope so," replied Giles. "If not, we'll have to take them straight back to Asda." Okay, so I've given Giles a pretty hard time today. My conscience is at least starting to trouble me, so allow me to say a few words from the heart. Someone once said, "We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give." That's been Giles's philosophy for as long as I've known him. Right from the start, right from the time he gave me head lice as a kid. Seriously, whether it's his money, his advice, or simply his time, Giles is one of life's givers. Today, he's given us his heart, a pretty big give by anyone's standards. But I don't think any of us could imagine a more worthy recipient than Victoria. Giles, Victoria, this room is veritably bursting with goodwill for the both of you. I know that I speak on behalf of everyone here, and many more besides, when I wish you the happiness of futures together. For those not here today, as it is customary, a number of messages have been passed on to me from absent friends who would like the opportunity to give their best wishes, and I have a couple of here to read out to you. So, dear Victoria, it was nice while it lasted, but I guess we'll have to call it a day now you're married. From Carlton Cole. West Ham player for those. Second one, congratulations on your special day, Giles. We will miss you. All the girls from the Fantasy Lounge in Alicante. We're nearly at the end of the speech now, but before we raise our glasses to toast Giles and Victoria, tradition dictates that in preparations for marriage, a few words of advice are passed to the happy couple. As a married man myself, I would like to think I have a little bit of experience in this area, but I also consulted others in the following. Victoria, remember men are like tile floors. Lay them right first time and you can spend years walking all over them. Giles, firstly, set the ground rules and establish who's boss. Then do everything Victoria says. Giles, when Victoria has something important to say, always remain silent. It will make her think you're listening. I'm going to sign off now, and to do so, I'll leave you with this quote from the poet Byron. Life is a mirror. If you frown at it, it frowns back. If you smile, it returns the greeting. Here's to smiles and laughter. Here's to Giles and Victoria.
Giles and Victoria.